Okay, so thanks for being here this evening. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible because I know everybody's busy. Even though it is summer, I'm sure everybody's still in their routines and busy schedules and all that stuff. So try to keep it to about an hour. It's hard to believe if somebody had said to us, in December of 2019, that we were going to be shut down like we've been for the last, 16 months now, and that Sunday school would be paused like it's been for so long. I think we would have laughed at people and just, said, go on, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. But it's been a very difficult year for everyone on every level. Um, Seniors, young people, people with young families. It's been a challenging year for everybody. We haven't been able to gather together like we're used to doing. Even for those of you who have been out to church since we've reopened, it hardly seems like church because it's not what we're used to. We're not singing like we used to. We're not, touching and embracing each other like we used to, say, when we were sharing the peace. We're not able to stay around for a cup of tea, which is really the most important part of church, anyways. Let's be completely honest. Um, so it's really church boiled down to its bare minimum. And the thing that I've missed the most during the pandemic is the children. It's been really, their absence, I think, has been glaring throughout all of this. Only a few children have been out to church at all. And so it's been very quiet and very boring at church without kids. So, as things have started to open up a little bit more now and restrictions are being eased a little bit, myself and Bernadette, I assume everybody knows Bernadette. I just introduced her to Braden, um, who was our coordinator last year, and I've got my fingers crossed that she's going to be taking some form of a leadership role this year in what direction we decide to go. So we started having a conversation first through Messenger, but then we sat down 2 weeks ago now, I think it was, and just started, talking about what the fall might look like. We both have some apprehension and I would say anxiety about the fall, and having now 15, 16. I mean, I guess by the time we come back in September, it'll be 18 months or something, won't it?
Yeah.
So a long time of no children in Sunday school, and we're a bit concerned about who's going to come back. And I would say there have been some of our students who have aged out of Sunday school, right? That probably, in that 18 months, have gotten too old for Sunday school in their own minds, or you know the drill. So yeah, so some anxiety about who's going to come back, and what it's going to look like, and who's going to be available to take on various leadership roles and ministry and that kind of stuff. But then, as we talked a little bit more, I think some of that anxiety was tempered a little bit with um, a feeling that, yes, this is going to be a challenging fall, but this could also be an opportunity to do something new, to really think outside the box, and to not feel the pressure to go back and do exactly what we were doing before. And in so many parts of our lives, that's been kind of the bright side. If there has been anything with COVID, it has given us an opportunity to say, that doesn't work anymore. So we're going to do something different. Or things that we started doing in COVID, and we want to keep them now when we go into whatever post COVID is going to be. So one of the things we wanted to do was to meet with as many parents, grandparents, guardians, people who might be interested in. I hesitate to use the word teach because the model we're using before, there wasn't a lot of teaching going on, but even so, like people who want to be helpers, or whatever language we want to use, to have a conversation with stakeholders to kind of see what ideas we have for the fall, what the fall might look like, And then the other idea we had was to early in September, maybe sit down with some of the older kids from Sunday school to see what they might be saying about what they want from their time in Sunday school. And I said to Bernadette, everything is on the table. Everything is up for grabs. I think everybody knows me well enough that I'm not afraid to try new things and do things differently. And we've already done things differently over the years. We're one of the few churches, Anglican churches that I know, that some time ago shifted away from using a curriculum, a packaged curriculum, to really, we were designing our own curriculum. We had Father Mark and myself were writing stories, facilitators were telling the stories and designing activities around those stories, and then some other little ritual things that we would do. So we've already started doing some new things. So I said to Bernadette, even the language that we use, Sunday school. We don't have to call it Sunday school anymore if we don't want to. I know that's kind of off-putting to a lot of kids to say, you're going to go to church to go to Sunday school. And they say, what the heck? I go to school like Monday to Friday. The last thing I want to do on a Sunday is go to anything that's called school. So even something as simple as the name, I would say is up for grabs. That we can change that. Some changes I think are going to be forced on us because personnel wise, now we're in a different position than we were just as the pandemic was starting. We're no longer a 2-priest parish. So the setup we had before where Father Mark and I were writing stories, that's just not even a reality right now. There's no way that with everything else I'm doing that I could be writing stories every week. We do have a fairly significant catalog of stories now that we could draw on. But we wouldn't be able to go back to the same setup. But then Bernadette and I kind of said, maybe starting in September, we don't even start with that format. Maybe I think, and I think Bernadette agrees with me, I'll stop talking in a second so she can say some stuff, that maybe the focus come September should be just on building community. Just getting the kids back into church, back with their friends, feeling comfortable in church again, and then very slowly working towards some kind of program. But so anyways, I'm going to stop talking. That's all I wanted to say. I don't know if Bernadette has anything she wants to add, and then I'd love to hear from everybody else.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summarized what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was that we met last. And I still feel pretty much the same way that you do, that, pretty much anything could be on the table. Looking at maybe 1 or 2 Sundays a month or a different time, even, who knows, like whatever's going to work best for everyone. And I definitely think that we need to start with building up the community again for our Sunday school and looking at some of the social and emotional development of our kids that are going to be there. That's how we did it when we went back to school. And I think that's probably what the kids enjoy the most, is getting together and having friends there to play with. So yeah, any ideas? Put them forward now.
Yeah, and like one of the other things Bernadette and I talked about was people's schedules. People are really busy, and even with shifting away from a curriculum where the stories were being provided and really not designed around teaching, but around just letting the kids have the story, listen to it, kind of find their own meaning in the story. So that took a fair bit of burden off teachers that didn't have to sit down with this curriculum, learn it for themselves, right? And then try to figure out how to teach it to children. We're kind of let the story speak for itself. But even just something as simple as finding an activity for the kids to do to go along with the story. Reality is that what most people were doing was trying to find something the night before, because life is crazy and hectic. And so we don't want a system that's going to be burdensome on people. but we do want something that the kids can enjoy and have a positive experience, so that leaves them with a a good memory of what church is, so that when the time comes, or if the time comes, but it's usually when the time comes, that they decide church is not for them anymore, that when they do get to a point in their life when they're making a decision about things like faith and morality and choosing a life partner and those kinds of things and starting a family, that the church is something that holds a positive meaning for them, so that they'll want to come back and seek out. It might not be St. Mark's, but some other faith community. So I think balancing our human resources and what the kids need, and and faith development and all that, those kinds of things, and just being really realistic about what we can do, but trying to be the best that we can be in what we do. Any other thoughts or anything?
Yeah, so I guess from my experience with working with the kids over the last couple of years at St. Mark's, the activities that they seem to relate best to and that they seem to talk about the most afterwards are the actual hands-on real life experiences, whether that's when we take them out and plant bulbs in the garden at the front of the church, or even when we do our Advent and Lent projects, like where they're raising money for a local or an international charity. They love that. They love working towards a real goal and actually knowing that they're helping someone or that they're helping their environment. Those are the things that they really like. My experience with them suggests that they get bored with the mundane week to week coloring sheets, I'm going to say, like, or cookie cutter kind of activities. And that is an issue with the volunteers, is that it takes a lot of time to come up with a really real activity. And so oftentimes, yeah, I've done it myself the night before, been like, oh my gosh, I gotta find something, and you end up going online and finding something kind of quick and easy. But that's not always the most meaningful activity.
I'm just writing down some notes, Bernadette. So
Cute little voices.
yeah, I agree with everything Bernadette just said. Like, that's been my, as someone who's involved in Sunday school, but kind of more, I drop in, I drop, like I'm not there all the time. And just from conversations with kids and with teachers, yeah, I would say the outdoor activities are always a big hit, and activities like prayer pretzels are always a big hit. And the things that we do, like the community projects, or sometimes they're not community, they're kind of global projects. They're always a big hit as well. I've heard the struggle from parents who are teachers, about trying to find activities, and then last minute and going with coloring sheets. And you've got some kids, they'll color all day. they love it. But then you've got some kids that's just not how they learn, right? And the problem again comes back to our resources that we have to be able to teach, because we all know kids learn in different ways, and it's hard enough in a school, in a classroom, to where you have a paid professional, highly skilled teacher teaching children. In Sunday school, you have a volunteer who's usually a parent, trying to teach, and it's difficult to reach all these different age groups and learner styles and those kinds of things. So again, trying to be realistic about what we can do. I know one of the things Bernadette and I talked about was maybe instead of having like an Advent project and a Lenten project, we would just have one focus project for the whole year, from September right up until late May or early June, where the kids would learn about this, whatever it is, whether it's the Single Parent Association or the Association for New Canadians or World Vision or whatever we decide they want to do. And part of that would be educational, part of it could be helping raise the profile within within the parish community for that, maybe raising some money, collecting items, something like that. So that will be more core to what we do in Sunday school or whatever we're going to call it, and not kind of on the periphery that we do for like 4-6 weeks out of the year, right? So that could be something that works too. Any other thoughts? What do you think about the idea of sitting down with some of the older kids to hear from
I
them?
personally think that's a great idea because it would be nice to get them back into the community.
Yeah. Bernadette, did you have?
I agree. Oh, sorry. I agree. I also like the idea of the community project, and whether it's one for the whole year or maybe, I don't know how long you know, maybe one for the fall to Christmas, and then maybe another one for, you know, where you can zero in on a place that needs help or whatever, has a need, and have the kids learn about it. Maybe, you know, I think about the Association for New Canadians or a gathering place, have someone come and speak to them, you know, that kind of stuff. That could, you know, depending on the ages of the children, like at their level, and really instill a community service mentality.
Yeah, and that's what we've been trying to do, and I think we've had some pretty good success in that area. But sometimes the projects, and I'm sure Bernadette would agree with me, they're hit or miss, right? But I draw a correlation between the projects that the children pick themselves are usually much more successful than the ones that we kind of, I don't know if we foist them on them, but we kind of like, they're not really into it. When we did the, what was the last one we did?
Sri Lanka, I think, was the last.
Sri Lanka. That one was a big success.
That was, yes.
And the reason why I think that was such a big success was that Leah presented it, and it was something that she was passionate about. And so then I think the kids got excited about it. Here comes Susan Gover there now. An example of one that didn't work so well was we did something for Home Again Furniture Bank that was a part of a wider diocesan, or like other Anglican churches were involved in it. And the kids never really got into it. It wasn't very well organized, so it didn't work so well. But if the kids are, you know, into it, it usually works pretty well, right? Hi, Susan.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay, my love. Susan is got way more experience at this stuff than I do. So I value her input, and even Amy as well. I mean, Amy's a good resource to be able to tell us what works in Sunday school and what doesn't work. And so we're just talking about, you know, ideas for the fall. I kind of did my little preamble where I talked about how really everything is up for grabs. We can change whatever we want to change now. This is almost like a clean slate to start all over again. We do have some different realities that we're working with anyways. There's just me now. So there's not myself and Father Mark who can, you know, we were basically designing our own curriculum. So we can't do that anymore. So we're trying to focus on what's realistic for us, and also something that's meaningful for the kids. I think we're all in agreement that starting off in September, the focus really needs to be on building community, making the kids feel comfortable back in church again. You know, and I think we'll probably see some new people. I think we'll see some new people because I think the social disconnection and isolation we've been feeling for the last year and a half, I think people are going to be looking for community. And so I think we're going to see some new people come and join St. Mark's, and hopefully that means some younger families as well. Susan, I don't know if you had any thoughts you wanted to share.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Susan Gover. I have one child, Amy, who has gone to Sunday school and been a member of St. Mark's since birth. And I've been a member of vestry before that. And I assume various roles relating to the Sunday school, most recently in relation to the youth. We had the Lion's Den, which was a different programming once we got beyond really grade 5. There was different levels of interest, and the teens wanted to be recognized, or tweens, as having different needs and concerns as they were evolving and having some new experiences. So so I guess my learnings as a parent as well during the pandemic is kids have been really in structured environments, internally with school, following protocols. It really inhibits that sense of community. I had sent some ideas before I had, because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make it. But one of the things, even without the pandemic, that was successful was as long as the weather permitted, getting outside, and that would reduce some of the COVID risks as well. Normally in the fall, we have the fall gathering. There's lessons on creation. I don't know if that's still the plan, but in terms of the circle of the church, normally September has those Bible connections. I think climate change is really important. So there is some opportunities there, I think, in the fall to do some outdoor activities. And maybe you had discussed that before I went online, but they always had really good turnout, really good participation. It let them kind of have that freedom just to get together and have that fellowship. We always had good turnouts. Older children could also, the teens could be kind of in a volunteer capacity if their parents were comfortable. I think Amy would be comfortable in that regard. Masks could still be worn. It's probably going to be voluntary at that time anyways. But they're out in the fresh air. We wouldn't have cleaning protocols and all of that. And that would be a good transition just to reconnect. Coming back, some of these kids haven't seen each other. There's big growth spurts I've seen. Just a opportunity, even like, I don't know, even out in the parking lot, if we had like some creative people in the church who could have an outdoor Sunday school classroom where all you would need would be some log benches for them to sit on and for reading to be done, or some chatting. I know, for example, the Fluvarium have an outdoor classroom. So, and some of the schools also have implemented that as well. Not a real big cost to put some benches perhaps out there. And that could be a gathering place as well. I know, there's concerns too about vandalism and stuff, but some big logs, if they put graffiti or something on it, it wouldn't, we could just go out and repaint it type of thing. So those were some of the things that I was thinking about. I wouldn't be able to, in terms of volunteers, I'd like to be behind the scenes and just help as needed. I would be able to as well. I would be comfortable, because I do it at work, because I'm the nan, doing cleaning protocols of the Sunday school classroom before and after, if that was needed as well, because we do have some of that now, just even with the parishioners in church. But I think I sent a text to Bernadette because I didn't know if I was covering or not, but most, putting my lawyer hat on now, most insurance policies now have excluded pandemic liability. So if someone got the pandemic and you were sued. So one of the diligence pieces that we should be doing anyways is having, you know, which I'm sure we have written, protocols for cleaning and everything. But I think for Sunday school, there needs to be something commensurate with the schools in terms of what they do with the classrooms. So I will be willing to do that. I don't know if the diocese, Reverend Rob, have a protocol on that. It's a bit more than just saying, oh, we're following the protocol. You know, you really need to have that in writing and a checklist, and you know, have a form there to say if you're going to attend Sunday school, if you have one of these things, you shouldn't come. Similar to what happens in the school system, to kind of mitigate and give the parents comfort too, that there's not going to be children sent out there while their parents are in church, even if they're sick. So, and I think that will be, you know, a relief to new families coming into, to know that we're trying to think outside the box, to include these, because from a mental health perspective as well, you know, there's a lot we can offer to the children that they've missed. I saw the smiles when I brought the balloons around, and you know, there was so much joy, and you know, just I do think everybody will come back, but they need to have that comfort level that their children are protected. So that's enough from me. Probably all discussed before, so I'm sorry. But those are some of my musings.
Well, we did talk about the outdoor activities, I think, and I think I didn't hear any disagreement about that. I think that's a great idea, and I mean, you know, St. Mark's in a way is in a really strategic location for that kind of stuff, because you can take kids out to the back of the church. They're away from traffic out on the street, so we're safe in that kind of way. But we're also not that far from a really beautiful walking trail that goes up around the back of the church. And I mean, I don't know how far you'd walk with little kids, but you know, there's spaces back there where you could go and stop, and maybe you know, a little lesson about taking care of creation or something like that, I think is very doable. Susan raises really good points about protocols and those kinds of things. I think those things are going to be with us for a long time, and we will need to be seen to be diligent in keeping things clean. We do have the benefit of having a custodian who, you know, will do some of the more intense cleaning, but in terms of, you know, wiping down shared things and those kinds of things are important. And then about, you know, screening people and making sure the kids are not well, don't come to Sunday school.
Yeah, and you know, like we could even give, this is just a thought, because I don't know like what the budgets are like and all of that stuff, but we could give them all like a welcome back kit too. Each would be a pencil case, which would have crayons, a pair of scissors, a glue stick, so, and would have their name on it, so that when they came, they just grab their own pencil case, so they wouldn't be using communal equipment on those pieces.
Mhm.
And probably maybe one of the ladies from the church could make a mask for them all.
Yeah, there's a Wednesday friendship group that meets, and they do all kinds of crafty stuff and sewing projects.
Yeah, so
and stuff.
if they could like get a mask with some even lion print on it, you know, and put in the pencil case, you know, and you know, we'd have to have disposable masks anyways there. You know, just like a little welcome back kit. And then there'd be like a box we can keep them all in. And then they're not sharing all of their items, you know, just some of those thinking out of the box ideas. I'm not a school teacher, so I haven't been in the classroom to know, you know, some of the creative pieces. I think we can space desks and arrange things. So, you know, when we were in the winter months, able to have that distancing available, even if it's a child at each end, Bernadette, of those long tables.
Yeah, luckily in schools, we're all considered a cohort within our group. So the desk situation is kind of reverted back to
Yeah, and I think one of the frustrating things for me even now is the unknowns of what even the fall is going to look like in terms of restrictions and you know how comfortable parents are going to be bringing kids back, because I know the concern that I've heard all the way through is having children in a space intermingling with multi-generational groups, and parents were just really uncomfortable with that. And I think too, part of people's hesitation was, I can't, you know, it's not up to me if my kid goes to school or not. They got to go to school, so I don't have any choice in that. You know, you got to keep life as normal for kids as possible, so they're going to go to the activities that they can go to. Church, for all intents and purposes, is an optional activity, right? So if people feel like, you know, it's not safe, or you know, they don't have time or space for it, it's going to miss out. It's going to lose out. So, you know, I say all that to just say, I don't know what the fall is going to look like, right? And restrictions are changing all the time. I hope they're going to continue to open up. But I mean, I look at some other parts of the world where things have opened up and then not gone so well when numbers are high. So who knows what the fall is going to look like?
Yeah, one of the other things too on that interjurisdictional comment, maybe we could, sorry. Hi, maybe we could use the office entrance for the children so they wouldn't be going in through the main door. And you could put a divider up that would get them to the Sunday school room. If the parents want to bring them out for communion, that would be optional if their comfort level was okay, because they're in that area and space a very short period of time. And then you do have some barriers in place too that could address that concern, but that would all come out with the back to church messaging, you know, to see if they would be comfortable with that, right? It wouldn't be an extra expense. The dividers are already there on the rollers. We've used them in Sunday school in many capacities, and we could actually roll those dividers out into the Sunday school room too, if you know, if there was a small cohort of really good friends who were all in the same class at one school and they all were okay to sit together, well, that'd be okay. You know, but again, that doesn't foster that sense of community. Whereas going outside, like I've seen every child that I know somewhere along the way, either on the swings in Terranova National Park or down in Bannerman Park. So I think, you know, as we evolve through the fall, I think the initial piece should be go outside just to get that connection.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I understand what you're saying, but I think I think our mantra has to be too, whatever we do has to be simple and not too much work for anybody. Because I find since we've started live streaming stuff, I'm completely caught up in all of that stuff before church starts. So I'm of no use to anybody, you know, getting stuff ready. So setting stuff up and that kind of thing, whatever we do has to be super, super simple and not.
Yeah, and that's why I volunteered to kind of assist with cleaning like, Bernadette is the lead there, and then she's got a great team of parents and guardians who come and support the children. So, I'm happy to come 10 o'clock, set up the barriers, go make sure the rooms have all of the, I could even like lay pencil cases out on the table so they're all not going to one place grabbing it, right? Like, it's going to be whatever we have. We can't beat ourselves up either. Like, this is new for everybody, right? And so we're all going to have learnings, and there's going to be stuff that just doesn't work, and we adapt.
Yeah, I agree. I think we just got to be easy on ourselves from September. Usually in the fall, we only go from late September till the end of November anyways. We don't do much in December except get ready for the pageant. And I don't even know how a pageant is possible again this year. I don't see how that can happen unless it's a small group of children who are taking part in a pageant that we live stream. But there's no way we can have the crowds that we've had in the past for a pageant. We used to have over 500 people in the church. That's not coming back anytime soon. It's probably never going to come back.
Yeah, but maybe on that point, over the month of December, or even in November, we could pre-record a pageant, which could be optionally streamed in church for the current capacity and anyone else who wanted to join. It will be taped with no one in the church but the children. And those children can be spaced properly. I guess the issue is singing is an issue. It is a high risk piece. So, the younger age group I could see participating with, we've got a plethora of musical instruments like maracas and everything where you wouldn't be able to sing, and maybe just one of the older children, or like Joel playing guitar or something like that, and having a couple of older children sing. And you know what I mean? Like, Rhonda might have some really great ideas, but everybody look forward to the pageant every year. I think the pageant has evolved too since the 20 years I've been involved. We're in a virtual world, probably would reach thousands of people, like people on the mainland who can't get home, depending on where we are with everything. And globally, people in Ireland can't get home right now. So there are opportunities as well, that if it can be done, I wouldn't totally rule it out.
Yeah. I don't see a pageant happening like in past years. That's completely not
Never again, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I hear what you're saying about pre-recording and that kind of stuff. But again, I would just caution about people's time and schedule and who's going to be able to do that. And if there's editing that needs to be done, that kind of thing. And then you got people who are probably not going to be comfortable with their child's image being live streamed or recorded and put up on YouTube. So, but we got lots of time to figure that out, right? I would say whatever we do in Christmas needs to be focused on the children themselves, and not worrying about people getting their cute kids in angel costumes. That's
no.
Right?
No.
That shouldn't be our prerogative. Our prerogative is what will make Christmas special and meaningful for children. Right. So, but we got lots of time to figure that out.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So I wanted to keep this to an hour, just out of respect for people's time. So is there anybody else that had anything they wanted to share, or concerns or anything like that?
I think it might be a nice idea to involve the kids in the, set up, clean up, that sort of thing as well. I mean, they do that in the school all the time. Like, there's a kid who's the student of the week, and they have to take things down to the office for the teacher, or, the little hand things out jobs like that. And my boys love it. They love it. They're so excited when they're student of the week. Like, so, if you had a couple kids each week who had to come in a little bit early and help with the setup, or had to stay behind after Sunday school, to help clean the chairs or things like that. And that's all part of the lessons of Sunday school anyway, helping and doing your part. So why not engage the kids in it?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Something to keep in mind. Like, and the thing is, going back to the restrictions and not knowing what the fall is going to be like the way churches run now. Some of you have been out to church. Like, I know Natasha's been out to church. Divya has been in church. Braden, I think, has been out once or twice. That's not judgment on people. I saw Bernadette covering her face. No, that's not.
I'm in the lobby.
But like the way churches still run now, once the service is over, you can't stick around. Everybody has to exit the building. So we just had to be mindful of those kinds of things. Now, those restrictions might change by September. I don't know. We might be able to have a cup of tea. I hope to God we can, because kids aren't the only ones in need of community. Like, everybody right now is in need of community. But I agree with Natasha. As the more we can get kids involved, right? I think one of the things that we should take, advantage of now is that viewing what we do as not just a ministry to children, but it can become the ministry of the children themselves, right? And that, that teaching part that says, it's not just about coming here, we're going to pour information into you, but it's that we're helping to form you into, Christians, followers of Jesus. So I think anything that gets them more involved is a good idea, right? So, but again, I repeat, start slow. In the beginning, I think our focus should be on outside activities, so we avoid a lot of this stuff. I know the weather is unpredictable and those kinds of things. Maybe start off with not having Sunday school every Sunday, because I think that's going to be a bit much starting off. If we just jump right back into every Sunday, I don't think that's going to be manageable. We're going to get burnt out real quick.
Yeah, so some questions from my side, from like trying to think of how to work this in September and October, would be, what age groups are we kind of looking at when we go back? Are we breaking them down into the teens and then the younger primary elementary kids? What days of the weeks and time? Is it still going to be Sunday during the 10:30 mass? Is it not? Is that flexible? And I guess, the frequency. Is it every week? Is it every month? Is it every second week? Is it 20 minutes long? Like, are we going to do the song in church and then come back to the Sunday school room? Are we not doing that? Or are we?
I don't think the children's song will come back. One reason for that is a practical reason. We've gotten used now and like 45-minute church services.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people want to go back to an hour plus. So I think as much as possible, we're going to try to keep the service to 45 minutes or thereabouts. So I don't see the children's song coming back. So they would probably go out, right from the beginning of the service. And I think it's still important for them to come back for communion. That's always been a really important thing for us at St. Mark's, is having the children present with us as we receive communion together. There are some Sunday school curriculum out there that keep the children away and they do their own form of communion. That's never been very well received at St. Mark's anytime we've presented that idea. So, they would go out very early in the service, because realistically, before we got 20 minutes with kids?
About that, yeah.
Right. So you're still, I think we still aim for about 20 minutes. but they would be back for communion. And I think Sunday morning is, until I hear otherwise from people to say Sunday morning just doesn't work for us, I don't think we're going to hear that. I think Sunday morning works for people because, you know, Monday to Saturday, they're going 6 ways to, you know what, to just try to get through the week. And so if we put one more thing in the middle of the week somewhere, some evening, people might come. Some people will come out of a sense of obligation, and most won't come at all because they've got other stuff going on. It seems that Sunday morning to me is still a time that people have that, you know, it's a free time for family. So I think if they're going to come, that's when they're going to come.
And are we thinking every Sunday or?
No, I don't think that's realistic starting off. Unless we get a sense from parents, and I wish we didn't have to rely on parents. This is something else that Bernadette and I talked about, but this has always been the system that we've had. Our teachers, our facilitators are the parents themselves. And so then when their kids age out of Sunday school, they leave Sunday school, right? Susan is the only one that's really bucked that trend over the years. I really wish there was more, you know, people from the church that felt that this was their ministry, that, you know, ministry to children, but that's never worked that way. And we're still, as progressive as St. Mark's is, we're still very sexist when it comes to Sunday school or ministry to children. It's by and large the moms that do the Sunday school organization. I don't know how to get around that. I'm happy that Braden has expressed some interest this year. We've had some other dads and young men involved before, but not nearly to the degree that women have been involved. So yeah, you know, just being realistic about people's time, I think every Sunday starting off might be, you know, usually we would plan the whole year, at least from September to December was planned out. I don't think even that is feasible this year. I would probably do a month at a time.
Okay.
I have a couple of activities planned for September. See how that goes. Plan a couple of activities for October. It would be nice to have something for Thanksgiving weekend. Maybe that's what maybe we start off by looking at significant times, holidays.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Like the end of September is Orange Shirt Day. And, you know, the children are really seized with some of those issues as well. So maybe there's events in the community too, where they could get together and have a chat, because their parents are talking about this stuff around the kitchen table as well. And it might be an opportunity to say, what's our role here in loving our neighbors, for example.
Yep. No, that's a great idea.
I would like to start back a little easier than that.
No. But I'm just giving that, Bernadette, as an example, right? Like, you know, I think the first back should be just a hike somewhere and real easy, you know, give everybody a little kit bag.
Yeah.
They can bring it back and forth every week then when they come, right? With all this little gear in it, bottle of hand sanitizer, you know. And no, I'm in total agreement, but, you know, and there's some events that, you know, have a lot of joy surrounding them as well. You know, like we've always dressed up Halloween, so I'm sure they'd want to come that Sunday and dress up.
Pumpkin carving, that's always.
And the pumpkin carving, right? And the pretzel making. We won't be able to make the pretzels. You know, with the hand touching and everything else. You know, the kitchen is just too small. So, but we'll have to just be creative and replace that, because there's an expectation. I'm back to Sunday school now, and, you know, soon as February comes, I'm looking forward to pancake day breakfast and making the pretzels. Like, these are structured milestones that have worked. I think they have worked from the feedback I get from the parents. And you do want them to look forward to something, and routine is good for the younger children as well, I have found. But, you know, but you know, maybe if a schedule could be sent out in advance, like once September comes and we kind of know where everything is. So those important dates can be put on everybody's calendars, you know, and then go from there. Like we remember, Reverend Rob, we had that, like, it was a bit of a bust, but there was one day where the children were going to do the church service, right? But we always knew what weekend that was, and or the church service would be more toward the children. It didn't really work. They didn't want to be sitting all of that time, but everybody knew what Sunday that was, if they wanted to participate. So, you know, and where we're all busy, if we have know in advance, you can plan for it.
Yeah,
Can
I think.
Can I just make a quick suggestion here?
Sure.
Something that popped into my mind as soon as Susan mentioned about Orange Shirt Day. I mean, I just went on the First Light website. They do presentations for school age children, right? Education. I mean, we could reach out to them and invite them to come in. And it sounds, you know, presentations are interactive, hands-on. Children participate in cultural practices, including drumming, dancing, and games. I you know, invite them in, and then that takes the pressure off Bernadette or whoever's organizing as well, because they're going to come in and do the whole session, right, with the kids, and we don't have to, or you don't have to worry about coming up with, you know, an outline of things to do, you know, for at least that Sunday.
I like that idea. I think that's a great, I think if we just took the fall and said,
Yeah.
let's do, you know, a few of those kinds of activities. And if there's anything else we do, it would be to kind of going outside or something fun and that's our focus for the fall. Then we evaluate and say, okay, now after Christmas, what's the world going to look like, and what's manageable for after Christmas. Maybe we look at Lent and, you know, have a more intensive focus for Lent, because I do find in Lent people's attention is more focused. I mean, you're usually talking, you know, February into March when the weather's terrible and there's nothing to do, and people are more, you know, inclined to take part in these kinds of activities. So does that sound like a good idea to people, that we do like what Natasha's suggesting, something First Light and those kinds of groups that would come in, do 2 or 3 of those, but also have some things where we're just having some fun activity or something?
What do we suggest to parents for the weeks that we have no Sunday school?
I don't think we have to suggest anything, because they won't come if there's no Sunday school.
No.
That's just a harsh reality. And I totally understand that, because the idea of a child coming and sitting quietly in church, even though we say you don't have to sit quietly, you can make all the noise you want to make, they're still not comfortable doing it, right?
It's difficult to sit there and watch them use the Bible as building materials.
Yeah.
That's usually my day.
Well, but
It's
there's
just a
different
book.
mediums. It's a book, but there's different mediums now that can be presented in as well, right? So, you know, it's just for us to kind of transition a little bit as well. Like, I'm old, but, and, you know, like, even when I was in school and we didn't have digital phones and stuff, you know, sitting down and listening to someone read to you is no fun. You know, but we had success with the Lord's Prayer, getting that taught to everybody. So, like, you know, there are things we can do. The other thing we might want to do, if we're having like one event a month, maybe the December event would be early. I know Christmas Eve is super busy, but maybe the 23rd, I'm not sure where it falls. We have Sunday school that day. So that'll be an event that day for the children to celebrate, and we can do something special for the children that day, in lieu of not having the pageant.
Yeah, Christmas is actually on a Saturday this year.
Yeah.
So we could do it the Sunday before even.
Yeah. Yep, that could work.
Because the other thing is, this year is going to be the best Christmas ever if things stay the same, because everybody's coming home.
Yeah.
So family priorities will probably take precedent the week before anyways. So, you know, and then you have, depending on the weather, the first week is proverbially, the first week of Advent always tends to be the Santa Claus parade and no one comes. So you can't do anything that week.
Yep.
So
We the last few years we had the fall season pretty carved up anyways. Like there was a lot of other things going on. So anytime there's a long weekend or anything like that, we've stopped scheduling Sunday school because we want that to be family time. So I think we do the same, you know, the same things now and try to strike a balance between having things on significant times like Thanksgiving with allowing that to be family time too, right? But I think I can look at the calendar and just maybe make some suggestions of what might be some times that could work and come up with 5 or 6 Sundays that could work. I think, I know when Bernadette and I talked the other day, you know, we were concerned about kind of grabbing people early in the fall as they're establishing routines and getting on the go and that kind of stuff. I'm not sure how realistic that's going to be this year because we're going to be getting organized in that time too, right? So, because one of the things, Susan, we did talk about before you came was having a Sunday early on in September where we encourage some of the older kids to come to church. And then Sunday school that day is, I'd like to have the schedule so that I come out and I'm able to spend some time with them just saying, you know what, we're attempting to kind of recreate Sunday school, reimagine Sunday school. We'd love to hear from you, ideas that you might have about how that could work. And just, you know, they might have some suggestions of.
see, I think for like my former Lions Den kids, you're not going to get them back because Saturday nights are sleepovers.
Yeah.
I think there has to be some other like half-hour chat once a month at a time when, you know, maybe Sunday evening for a half hour after supper or something, where they all get online and chat about stuff on a themed based type of thing. Unless the only way they probably would come back is if they had some kind of volunteer role to do. I think they're really what the pandemic has, as everybody recognizes, has done is kind of saying, having that time to think about where's my role in all of this and what can I do versus, you know, and so we can't go to church. So what do we do to be good Christians? Because we can't go to church. So there's a huge amount of doing being done outside of that, especially I've seen with teens and volunteering and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I wasn't thinking about teenagers at all. I was thinking
okay.
kids, you know, kids the age of Bernadette's kids, I think would be old enough for
They're
this.
old enough. They have opinions.
Definitely Rachel Langdon would be, you know, able to give feedback, right? So I'm thinking elementary age kids, you know, grade 4 to 6. Realistically, our target audience, I think, is grade 6 and under. Probably more realistically, it's grade 5 and under. Once a child gets to grade 6, what we're doing in Sunday school is not very interesting to them. And we just don't have the resources, sadly, to provide anything different for them, unless they're the kind of child that wants to cycle back into then becoming a leader in Sunday school, or to go into the sound room to help there, or be a greeter or a reader or something like that, right? That's been our focus when it comes to youth ministry at St. Mark's. We do not have the resources to have a youth group like we did years ago, but we, you know, we had a paid person then, right? Times are different now, right? I think we do have some money to spend, right? I think we have a budget for Sunday school that we haven't really utilized for some time now, because we used to spend most of our money on curriculum. Once we stopped using curriculum, we had a lot extra money. So if there's things that you think of that involve us spending some money, I think that's quite all right. Right. So keep that in the back of our minds too. I know it's 8 o'clock. I want to keep to an hour. Did anybody have anything to say that they didn't get a chance to say? Ideas, concerns?
Hmm. No, I was thinking like, can we have the older kids come and tell some stories and, like involve them, the older Sunday school kids, so that, just other than outdoor activities, we also have some Bible study time. So, some stories from the older kids or parents, or, like they taking over some classes, or, like if we can schedule, if we can schedule online Zoom sessions also in some weekends if we do not have Sunday school in all Sundays, something like that. So, that Bible study portion is also maintained other
Mhm.
than activities. I was thinking that way.
Yeah, I think Divya, I think we'll get there eventually. But
Okay.
starting off, I think our focus is going to be on community. Uh,
Okay.
the other thing too is I always like to encourage parents. You know, kids shouldn't only be exposed to the Bible in church, because
Yeah.
if that's what it is, they're not going to be very interested in it anyways, right? So, but the church has created this idea that it's the church's responsibility to do all this stuff, but it's both the church's and parents' responsibility to do it, right? But I think we'll get back to that eventually. But I think starting off for the first little while, our focus is going to be on building community, and from building that community, we might identify some of those older kids that have the interest and the ability to come and do some of that stuff you're talking about. I think that's a great idea. If we could get to that, that would be super.
But maybe we can provide a list of resources to parents for that gap. Like what we used at home, because it was at the children's level. Like we have a VeggieTale book, and it's Old and New Testament. Don't know if it would be sanctioned by the diocese, but it does get the story out. The lessons are there, and we found that really useful. So I'm sure there's a list of resources or library books or something that could be tied to something that we would be doing in the plan schedule in the fall, perhaps.
There is. You have to be careful. There's a lot of resources out there, and most of it, when it comes to kids, comes from a more conservative evangelical background, which often is contradictory to what we're teaching children.
But what I'm saying is one that we would post
definitely
on our Sunday school, that, there's lots of parents who have great books, just even a book list to say, my child, Rachel liked this book. It was really great. It was her favorite growing up. Maybe you want to try that.
Yeah. And a great medium for that is our Sunday school Facebook group, right? So if you have something like that, video, book, or website or something that you found helpful with your children, share it with other people so that they can avail of it too, right? But just one last word on curriculum before we close up. I think the reality for us, when we get to a place where we feel like it's time, okay, to have, like Divya was saying, some kind of Bible component or teaching component, when the time comes for that, we're going to have to purchase a curriculum. I think just with our resources, the busyness of parents who are teachers, I think we're going to have to find a curriculum that is super easy for us, that is literally, pushing play on a DVD or something that tells a story, and then there's an activity that comes with it, and we do that activity. I think we have to go back to that basic kind of approach just to make it feasible for everybody, so you don't have parents scrambling the night before trying to find an activity and then coming to church racked with guilt because I had to wait till the last minute to get this done. And then especially if the kids aren't into it, then you think, oh my God, I failed, I'm miserable. I want to avoid that as much as possible. So really, I want this to be positive as much as we can make it for everyone that's involved. Okay. Thank you for your time. I will upload this somewhere, either to YouTube or somewhere, so people who aren't here can see it, and it might generate some ideas in them too. The more feedback we get, the better, I think. And I think we do need to figure out, like, say, who our facilitators were, you know, when we shut down, if they're willing to come back, if there's some new people we can identify. A really important part of our team was Leah Paranavitana. I don't know where Leah stands now in terms of school and availability and that kind of stuff. So we should reach out to her. But there are some other younger people around, I think, that could be a good resource too. Huri, I don't know if anybody knows Huri. Her family's from Syria. She's been keen to help out sometimes too. So I know Braden, who was there earlier, he's going to be a new person who's willing to help out. There was one other family too, new family, that reached out to me for the link. I guess they just couldn't make it. So their child is a bit younger, but you know, potential for another person to get involved. So I think it's going to be an interesting fall, but I'm hoping that the opportunity to start over afresh will be exciting as well. So thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Go in
Thank you,
peace.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.